We can't cry over Corona. Waking up with text that show a list Saturday night, that famous Shabbat that we all remember, that you open up your text, your email, and you see a list of 15 people that just died over Shabbat. That's not something that we could cry for. It's not something to cry over the people, the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that were walking around Purim, laughing, happy, Mishloach Manot, Purim parties with their grandchildren. And a few weeks later, not in the world anymore? That's not something we could cry over? And how did they die? Can you imagine, Khalila, that they were in the hospital alone? Imagine these hundreds of people saying Shema Yisrael before their last breaths alone, no family around them, no one to talk to them, no one to comfort them, in a hospital bed, dark, alone. And the stories where the hospital called, there was such chaos in the hospital that the hospital called families 3 days after the guy died because it was just too crazy. Oh, by the way, we forgot. But by the way, your father died. That's not something to cry for. And the sirens every 5 to 10 minutes in Brooklyn, I remember in my window, 5 to 10 minutes is another siren. The fear. The loneliness. You have people having seders by themselves, alone, almanot, alone. Manishtana by themselves. And the shuls, and the yeshivas, do we ever think there would ever be? We have to understand what we went through. Can you imagine if there was a terrorist organization that took over one of our shuls and said no Jews are allowed in this shul? What we would do? What we would feel? And every shul, every yeshiva was closed. This is the heart of our people. Do we understand what we went through? Not a yeshiva open. That's not something to cry for. That's the Churban. When the nurses had to decide which ventilators I should give to. These decisions, this Jew or that Jew. That's not something we can feel. I just can't stop thinking about these people that are said that died alone. By themselves. No one to say vidu with them. No one. We can't relate to that. And the poverty that caused, that the world was shut down in a day. Guy had a big business yesterday and today he's unemployed. Not knowing where to get food on the table from. Nowhere to turn. Nowhere else to apply for a job. Everything's closed, shut down. Do we understand the poverty that our people are going through? You know, I was talking to the head of Yad Eliezer. He was in the States. He's in charge of distributing food. I'm not talking about luxuries. I'm talking about food, basic food in Israel. He's the largest food distributor for the poor. And I asked him. I said, he already gives thousands and thousands of food and money, and so I asked him, how did it get to Corona? He said, I can't see the end of the waiting list. It's too long. We don't have enough money. You give me $5 million right now. I'll spend it in a second. That's how many people are there. Waiting for food. You're talking about Israel, our fellow brothers. The concept that, people don't understand what they live there. Before Corona. Where chicken is a luxury. They don't have, you ask them, why are you eating dairy on Shabbat? Who can afford chicken? Who can afford chicken? Not one family. We can't cry for them. Where children don't sleep on beds. There's a whole campaign raising money for beds. Beds? That's where we're here? That's where we're holding? We can't understand that? That's the Beit HaMikdash. And then we think, let's go on. All the girls. Do you know how many girls, Jewish, beautiful, religious, pure girls that are not married? Do you have an idea? what they call the shidduch crisis. And so it's not, crisis is underdoing it. It's a catastrophe. Can you imagine, picture the excitement of a high school graduation, a Beit Yaakov high school graduation, or any girl graduation from a Jewish school. Picture that excitement, how the girls are excited to start their life. Nothing can stop them. They can't wait to get married, start a family, being the Eshet Chayil, that they learn year and year and year and year. And the horror when no one calls them for a date. When you're dealing with women, teachers, that their students are getting married before them. There's a story of a school, they did a mock wedding. You know, they have mock weddings in these schools. You know, they play up, chatan and kala. And the teacher didn't show up to school that day. And they asked someone close, they asked her wife, she goes, I'm so embarrassed. How can I go? I'm dealing with a mock wedding. I'm not married myself. This is a pain. Hundreds and hundreds. Think of that, you innocent girl, on graduation day. And now think of a 30, 35-year-old girl, 25, 30, 35-year-old girl. Still nothing. Every year Rosh Hashanah crying. Maybe this is going to be the year. And another year passed, another year passed. You can't cry for that. That's Rosh Hashanah. That's Churban Beit HaMikdash. Living by our parents still. When all our friends, or the couples, Lo Aleinu, that can't have children, picture their chuppah day. Whoever's married understands. You just can't wait to start a family. That's all you care about. That's all you want. You're praying your heart out under that chuppah. You're praying your heart out for that family that you're going to build. And then months and years go by, and nothing. Do you know that pain? Do you know that pain when Purim, you're seeing everyone dress up their kids and you have no one to do? We have to feel that pain. That pain has to be cried for. That's the Churban. And all the sick children, you go to Kibbutz Simcha, see hundreds of sick children. Imagine the happiness. Imagine the happiness of when they gave birth to these kids. To find out years later that they're going to have to deal with the most suffering, torture life. The pain that these kids are in. Yeah, we're not supposed to think about all these sad things every day. We have to think positive. But in Lo Akshav Eimatai, we have to mourn. So the Churban is not just the Beit HaMikdash. The Churban is the tragedies of a day to day that we're feeling. And that's just the physical things. Besides all the divorces and all the almanot and yatumim, besides all that, and every second you can look at this catastrophe. We're desperate. It's an emergency. What about our spiritual state? You know, there was a time not far away that Shabbat wasn't an option. Kashrut, being kosher wasn't a choice. Everyone was kosher. Everyone believed Torah Sinai. Everyone. We're not talking about thousands of years ago. Do you understand the way the world is now? Hashem's children? Hashem's millions and millions of children, the state that we're in? You know, we live in Brooklyn, so we feel like, wow, it's pretty good. Schools are packed. Shivas are great, rolling. If we look at the bigger picture, it's pachad. It's frightening. The intermarriage rate in America. You know, intermarriage, maybe we heard these numbers before, but we have to really think about them. We have to cry about them. 58% of American Jews marry a goy. 58! That's more than one. Take two Jews, now take two random Jews off the street. More than one is the Vada, guaranteed marrying a not Jewish person. Can you imagine? Think about it. From Moshe Rabbeinu, imagine their grandmother, great-grandmother, all the sacrifices that they put into their kids. Imagine that feeling, they're praying for their kids, and now boom, you ended it. Loss of a generation, ended. It's over. 58% majority. We don't know where we're living. 58% majority of America marrying goyim. We can't cry for that. And take the Jewish world as a whole in America. We think that, you'll read the newspapers, those that believe in authentic Torah Sinai, with Orthodox Judaism, they're the majority. Look, we fill up every, you think like as if we're the majority of Jews. You know the numbers? 10%! 90% of American Jews, 90, are not following the way of Torah Sinai. 90! Other affiliations go, and you know what the craziest part is? The majority of the Jews, majority, don't associate to anything. Even the ones that nothing! They're not affiliated at all! Majority! It's like Rav Over gives an example, like a king in World War II, when he was ready to get, they're ready to hide, to captive, so he goes in hiding. So he's running the world in hiding, underground. And everyone can't wait, they're waiting for the king to come out. But the king stays. And little by little, all his followers start to leave. 90%. 90%! Oh, maybe in Israel it's better. Israel? They just did a survey in Israel. Eretz HaKodesh. If not there, where? Our holy land. The land that we sacrifice, we dream about. They did a survey opening up stores and buses on Shabbat. They took a vote. Vote. Let's let the people speak for themselves. 78% voted to open it all on Shabbat. 78. You're dealing with 25% of Shomer Shabbat. 78% would rather go and open it all. Let Shabbat be a Sunday. Do we understand where we're living? We can't cry over that. That God's children are drowning all across. By the way, let's talk about the 10%. Oh, the 10%, they must be pretty good. 10%? All the people that we look at and we talk about, they're not as religious anymore. That's them. All the teenagers that go on their phones on Shabbat. Oh, by the way, they're the head of the pyramid. That's the 10%. You know the kids at risk that we're dealing with? The kids at risk, we can't cry over. Imagine the parents, the anguish. All they wanted, all these parents wanted was to have a son at Shah. Why? To raise them to Torah mitzvot. Can you imagine the feelings that they have, the tsar, the pain that they have? Not 10, not 20, hundreds and thousands. We can't cry over that symptom? And not just spiritual. Physical, next to Israel, there's a country called Iran. Iran says clearly, we want to wipe Israel off the state of the map. We want to wipe them off. All right, maybe it's just they're talking. Oh, they're building a nuclear bomb. We're not. It's not a joke. I remember I went to Poland, and never again, when I was in high school, never again. It's happening. Chas v'shalom. We have to understand where we're living. So yes, we can't understand Beit HaMikdash. We can't understand the flames. We can't understand that Hashem Shechina left. What do these concepts mean? But we can understand that. We can understand the kids at risk. We can understand all the shidduch problems. We can understand the sicknesses. We can understand the poverty. We can understand that.